right, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll take a brief moment of silence right now.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, everyone, please take a seat. All right, verification of notice.
This meeting is being conducted in full compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law. Notices were sent from County Times, Township website, posted on the official Township website.
Okay, thank you. All right, the approval of minutes from the April 28th, 2026 council meeting and the May 20th, 2026 work session council meeting.
Move to approve.
Second. We have a first and we have a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Astor?
Yes.
Ms. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
Mr. Banks?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. First on the docket, we have resolution 2026-77, resolution authorizing renewal of liquor licenses for the term of July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027. From the motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a first,
I'll second.
we have a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Astor?
Yes.
Ms. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
Mr. Banks?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so the public hearing and adoption of the 2025 municipal budget. We have resolution 2026-61, resolution to amend the 2026 budget. And
Point of order, what are we amending? Or what are the amendments?
the amendments that were approved by the work session.
Oh, okay, I was thinking.
So the amendments that were approved on the May 20th council meeting.
So, point of information again, if we have additional amendments that we want to propose, would we do that now or after this part?
If you have additional amendments, you can't pass the budget.
Understood.
John, you want to say something?
Yeah, Saster, I believe,
I'll defer to Josh and Sherry. I believe the DCA has approved the budget right now in its form. That's not to say that you can't adopt the budget down the road, but if you add those today, Josh would be obligated to send it back to DCA, and I don't know what that would do from an expenditure standpoint after June 30th.
I did call the DCA, although I'm not an expert, so I'm sure there's more, but I was told that, after the public hearing, that we could make additional amendments, and then we would have to have a second hearing. Yeah, so it is possible. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Good.
If there wasn't, this is very loud, if there was a need to amend the budget, would amending the budget after passage of the budget allow for the township to proceed and then proceed with any additional changes?
I had to actually just see it.
Something is not right.
I actually had the CFO call DCA, and they basically told us that if you wanted to make amendments, you couldn't adopt this current budget. You would have to make the amendments, send them back to them, they would have to tell us how long it would take, how we had to advertise, and then adopt the budget. So you can't adopt anything but the budget that they already approved.
Okay.
And that was from 15 minutes.
All right, let's try this mic.
Okay.
All right, my mic is on this one. So Josh, basically said we received the state approval from the budget as of today, correct?
Correct.
And if we want to adopt any additional amendments, we have to first adopt the current budget that the state currently approved. No.
You can't adopt the budget.
You can't adopt the budget.
You have to make the amendments and send it back to the state.
Okay, so we have to make them and send back to state, so we can't adopt the current version of the budget if we have amendments, correct? Okay, questions?
Point of information, one of the things that was very relevant to my interest in amending the budget was something that I was understanding that was going to be a resolution on the agenda today, which is not, and I did email Josh to ask if it was going to be ahead of a meeting with Mr. DeFalco on Friday, mentioning potential sale of property, which would bring us substantial revenue. And that substantial revenue would theoretically allow us to be a little bit more flexible with surplus. And so why is that resolution not here? It's time sensitive. And I would be careful not to say too much because we didn't have executive session, but why is that resolution not on here today? It's time sensitive and it's very relevant to the budget. Are we not gonna move forward with that?
I plan on walking on.
You're planning on walking it off?
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't wanna say something that I shouldn't because it was theoretically a conversation in executive session, so didn't.
Actually, we didn't have an executive session with regards to it.
I know, but it was suggested that we may have an executive session to discuss it, so I didn't wanna publicly discuss something that I
Right.
shouldn't. But we now have new information that we would be selling some property, getting additional revenue. Why in the world would we increase taxes by over 600,000 if we have a significant amount of money that we know we're getting? And you admitted, Rich, that that would allow us some flexibility with a surplus. We are going to get that money. So if you know you're getting money, why in the world would you increase taxes by such a significant amount? And then have all that surplus sitting? So my suggestion is to, because we know we're getting the money, and we know that the party that is going to purchase the property is good for the money, that we incorporate that into, like, to be able to reduce the surplus, because you even said that if we have, say we get that money, we have all this additional surplus, we can't sit on it, that we must, come the fall, we must allocate that money to different departments. So, we know we're getting the money, so why in the world would we keep the surplus at like 600, or was it like 500?
The surplus is at 8 something still.
8, okay, so whatever, but the tax increase is 600,000.
Yes.
So if our surplus is like 800,000, and I'm not gonna look at the exact number, and we know we're getting several hundred thousand, then that gives us flexibility with the surplus. No, and so I'm proposing.
I don't think I don't disagree with you.
Okay.
I think from what I'm hearing from
Exact.
the administration is that there's some time sensitivity with the budget, and I don't know all the details. Is there more information that we don't know about from a budgeting standpoint and money standpoint and operating standpoint, just so we have an understanding?
And I should just say that that property was purchased with UAZ funding. I do not know if it goes into your surplus or goes out to UAZ. You do that as
Okay, I don't know.
No, that was not mentioned. Did you know that it was UEZ? I thought it was.
That was mentioned before.
So when that revenue comes in, where does it go?
Josh just said yes, yes,
DCA
DCA
to approve or direct where that money should go. Whether it go back to the DCA, or go back to the township.
So if the UEZ gets it, the township cannot budget that money? Yes or no? Like,
I would think,
you
I
can't
would think that
decide.
goes into.
That'd be correct, it would go to
That would
UAZ
go
second
to
generation
UAZ.
account. But then again, I don't know if it goes into a second generation account or it goes to surplus, that would be a DCA.
So some of the things that the UEZ can fund, like, literally, I'm like, let's discuss how we can play around with that money. If it does go to the UEZ, and we know that the UEZ is going to be getting this chunk of money, could we then not make like temporary cuts in certain departments or certain areas, and that have the UEZ then fill that gap when UEZ gets the money? Like special events or I don't know, I'm still, well, you're chair of the UEZ, so you would know better. Could we do that if in fact, if that is not
UAZ
possible?
can vote on projects which felt money could be spent to, so like back in the day, there was a project that was approved, acquisition of the property. I would have to assume that we could also, being the fact that that building is within the UEZ, fund things like the furniture, whatever was in there. So, yeah, I mean, probably,
You
yeah,
can come back around.
yeah, I mean, either way, they can fall.
Yeah,
Sure.
I just, for me, like, you know, after having that conversation, and I was, you know, surprised that it wasn't on the agenda today, because, you know, that's several $100,000 that we know we're getting. And so it's like, if you know you're getting several $100,000, why in the world did you have a $600,000 tax increase when you're getting that money? And you even said that when we get that money, that we can't sit on it in surplus. It needs to be allocated to different departments. So theoretically, we could either temporarily make small cuts in each department, or we could just, you know, reduce the surplus to the bare minimum. And or make temporary cuts in, like, you know, every department, clerk, rec, whatever, knowing that ultimately it would get reallocated in the fall, once we get the money.
I think that we need to definitively know where it get returned to. If it's the UEZ, then that would be money back that we can use and reallocate. If it's going, and maybe Josh, correct me wrong, if it goes to surplus, and we need to use the money for furniture or whatever else, it's already being used, right?
It comes in as miscellaneous revenue, it just comes in as surplus next year, so it goes to your fund balance. You can,
Okay, okay,
But I don't know if that's where it goes.
okay.
And if it comes in as something that needs to be returned into the UEZ portion of the budget, that money could arguably then, though, however, be through approved UEZ projects, go back to funding things that municipalities, like,
Yes.
it would just need to go to another,
Yeah,
it would need to go to another gate, like, yeah,
Right,
okay.
we've approved through other years, supplementing the budget,
Sure.
doing other things, but that would require the approval, and you would approve that approval.
Yep.
And then the state would approve that approval.
Yeah.
And then it would come back again.
another gate.
It's like for approval, but
So-
yes,
But all these projects have to be approved by the state UEZ.
Yeah,
Right.
Right.
Correct.
correct.
You can't just say we can get
I'm gonna
$10,000 for public works, we can't do that.
Yeah. Understood, yeah,
But
no,
case
so
in point-
aligned, been agreed.
The case in point, you mentioned reserves.
Would
I
you
don't
like
think
to?
it's, I don't think it's good practice just to pull from reserves. Reserves are there for a reason, and good government, you wanna have to build up the reserve in case, we just don't wanna pull from it every year. I think our reserve, we've been pulling from it for the last few years, and we're down 800,000. I think we got it up to close, over 1 million at one point. I think
You are
at
correct,
one
last
point-
year it was
Hold on,
allocated.
I'm not
Okay,
finished.
sorry, go ahead.
So, I think from a government standpoint and how you budget, that anticipated income from this sale, which hasn't been approved yet, you can't put that into the budget, am I right? You can't put that as a line item, because we didn't have that revenue last year.
Not this year.
Right.
Well, no, we can't put it as a line item.
So my
correct.
question is like, I mean, you wanna zero out the reserve, but that's not
No.
good practice.
Who wants to zero out the reserves, did anybody say that?
She did say you wanted to zero out the reserve.
No.
Reduce the reserve.
No,
It'll come in as miscellaneous income, right?
Yes, miscellaneous revenue.
Good.
Does somebody? I know that we've got, other hurdles because we're up against, a time crunch, however, does somebody wanna make a motion to amend the current budget by reducing some of the anticipated surplus for this year, is that where we're headed?
yeah, and then there are other suggestions, so, I mean, I think rather than doing all as a lump sum, we could do it line by line. But that was the first one, and I thought about it over the weekend, like what you said, and I thought, we have like several $100,000 coming, and who owns the property, the township or the UEZ?
The township owns the property.
So we're selling it, then the township gets the money, no? The township owns it, township gets the money.
I don't know the answer.
How
Like I
can
said,
we sell something and not get the
We
money?
should need DCA to tell us exactly where the money goes to. You know what I mean, so, you're right, and that's.
I'm
So
sorry?
It was financed through UEZ money. The UEZ made the expenditure on behalf of the township. The director of the Division of Local Government Services
Speak up, please.
has to decide where that money goes back.
Okay, so,
That's weird.
so the township doesn't own it, the UEZ does?
No.
Okay, I just want to understand. So the township owns it, but the UEZ controls
Correct.
how the money is spent. Okay. Well, luckily, our deputy mayor is the chair of the UEZ and is very well informed of all the goings on. I'm just looking, we have money coming. I want to figure out a way to use that money to reduce the tax increase. It's just logical, and if we just lower the surplus or make tiny adjustments into departments that perhaps we are confident that UBZ would vote to reimburse, that money would then be reallocated. I can't pass an increase of this size knowing we have literally half of that increase coming in from a sale of property, which I'm so happy that we're doing. And I want to do it in a way that is appropriate. And I know, like Rich, because you're on the chair of the UBZ, you're very knowledgeable. You told me about the sale and all the information. I'm here to figure out what we can do to, because we know we're getting it, to reduce the surplus and then handle it on the back end, because we know we're getting it. We are not taking the surplus to zero. We're minimizing the surplus. You know, I don't know, 200,000, 250, 300,000. We're getting a chunk of money. We can use a little bit for furniture, for, you know, like a dais and table and chairs and some speakers. But I just can't support this tax increase when we know we're getting money.
So you basically are saying you can't support voting for the budget today?
No, I want to amend it so that we can.
So if we amend the budget,
Mhm.
we're already up against, this meeting got pushed back a few times.
Yes, and I'm willing to meet again. We could meet
So, but
Thursday,
if
Tuesday,
by-
whenever.
By July 1st,
Mhm.
if we don't have a budget that was already approved by the state, the township cannot function. Am I right, Josh?
We can we not pass
Campaigning those.
temporary?
So if you choose to amend the budget now,
Mhm.
just restart the clock. Again, it has to be resubmitted to the state to be approved. And I think at the earliest, that's 28 days from now, so that's a month.
They said they would decide the timeline.
They'll decide the timeline, so we have a TBD on the actual timeline.
Can we not approve a
correct?
temporary operating budget just for the?
We already had the limit of our temporary operating budget.
Can we not
So
do it
we
again?
had the max, at this particular
Are
time.
we legally prohibited from doing it again? What happens?
Point of information. So is what you're saying, we have no choice? So
We
what
have
are we
to.
even talking about? Why are we up here?
Yeah.
No,
And
we
why,
do have a
and
short-
quite honestly, why didn't anybody else show up to these meetings with potentially, we fought tooth and nail for $100,000 in the last meeting? And this is where we're at. So now we're backed into a corner again.
Okay.
So if there's nothing we can do, then why are we bother voting? Just push it through. Why are we here?
Good question.
Now, Rich, you do.
Good.
Talk about that.
You cannot tell me that we are the first municipality in the state of New Jersey who has bumped up against a July 1st deadline,
Can't do that.
and our cops aren't gonna be able to roam the streets, and our, public works aren't gonna be getting paid, and we're not gonna be paying our phone bills, and these lights are gonna shut off.
I believe the work session was how we got to this point.
Yeah, and then we got more
And
information.
we made, but that was about 6 weeks ago.
And we also didn't have the information that we were having a potentially, a sale happen that significantly affects the bottom line. But what we're talking about is we're taking down a surplus with the knowledge that we're going to be having this income. I'm not saying that it's going to be dollar for dollar, minute for minute, it's going to come in and immediately then like fill up the coffers again. But it's worth exploring this in a year where we have over $500,000 worth of tax increases, which we haven't had anything like this in that I can find in the history.
I've never seen you guys fight so hard for a tax increase.
Oh.
You cannot tell me that we're the first municipality in the state of New Jersey who has had run up against the timing issue with their budgets and have hit a bit of an impasse, quite honestly. I haven't seen anybody else come up with one dime of savings. I am trying, we are trying. We started these conversations at the end of May.
Say, Rich?
The DCA said that there's no amending of the budget once it's passed.
No, the DCA said we can amend it, and then we have a second hearing. I literally spoke to someone at the DCA.
Right, Rick, that's what I mean.
No.
But then, like, you can amend it after the first public hearing, but then you have to have another one. Because it's like doing a whole new thing.
So we approved the budget as amended at the last work session, but it was the first reading.
Correct.
Yeah, it was. So then this meeting
It's the final adoption.
is a final adoption.
Of what was crafted at that work
Yeah.
session.
And we got new information.
And so then, what, are we then locked into this for the rest of 2026? We can continue to amend the budget, we've done it before now.
That's what I'm trying for. We can't, there's no amending of the budget after the passage.
CFO called, she said that you could amend it for things like 151s and certain items. He said if you were looking to change the whole budget, she said you can't.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what the CFO just told me.
But if we were just looking to add more into from surplus into the budget, that's one item?
Rich, I don't have it.
Okay.
You don't, I'm sorry, can you
He said-
say that again,
he
Josh?
said
You
he
don't
said-
have the answer? Is
I
that-
don't have
You don't
it.
know, okay, okay.
Okay.
No, that's, I can't hear.
All right,
I move to amend the budget by reducing the surplus by $200,000. Do I have a second?
Yes, I will second that.
Just a point of order before we consider, vote with the roll call. Should a amendment get passed on the second reading based on the proposed, and the amendment being how much from surplus into the budget?
200.
That would be 140 above the 60 already that we are pulling from it, or 200 on top of the 60?
Total.
Total, okay. If that passes, what the ramifications for the township starting tomorrow with the timer on the clock? What stops on July 1st? Let me know.
do you know what stops on July
You can't pay
1st?
your current bill list.
It's all right. So
I'm
that
not paying
means,
any bills. So I don't know how to put it. Like,
So
I
if
don't
it-
pay the bills.
So bills, employees, no one gets paid.
Unless they ran us some kind of waiver, I don't know. You have to ask them. I don't have the answer.
so before we run into roll calls, let's just recap. We have proposal to amend the budget to add 200-something thousand from total reserves,
Well,
Which is not resolution 81.
which is not resolution 81. Right, so this would be a whole new resolution, correct?
just to amend it to go from 60 to 200.
My question, point of order, is when we had the work session, why wasn't that suggested?
Because we didn't have that, we didn't have an offer for potential more revenue coming in.
We didn't know.
We know what we didn't know, so things have changed, and fortunately, we're in a position now where we haven't locked in, so, I mean, honestly, that's fortunate.
So, next point of order. If we bring this up for roll call, moving forward, is it prudent? We start the whole budget process over, but my question is, as of today, June 29th, moving forward, which is the second to last day of June, fiscal year starts July 1. Moving forward, what does that mean? Meaning, is this meeting going to be adjourned because we can't pay the rest of our bills? So we'll have to, once we vote for this, right, once we do roll call, then it's done for this vote point until TBD. Just making sure everyone understands. Because we still have a whole list of things to go through and to keep the township not just operating, but keep moving forward with the things that we have on the budget. I mean, not just the budget, but things we have on this document. So if we vote for these amendments just because the new information came in, and I believe that this could have happened 6 weeks ago.
No.
You still could have proposed the 200,000 from reserve 6 weeks ago.
That would have been irresponsible without knowing that this income was coming in, Mayor Banks.
Okay, so now that's irresponsible. Okay, understood.
Could I just interrupt for a second? Could we possibly temporarily adjourn, so someone can make a phone call to the DCA about the question regarding adding?
I mean, that's possible, but is it necessary to get an answer by today?
Rich, they're gonna say send it back out and we'll look at it, they're not gonna say right on the phone.
No, I was talking about amending with the additional of the surplus, because she said only certain things can be amended in there. And she called them to get what can be amended, like if she can call them and say, hey, what everyone's looking to do is just add more surplus. Is that a thumbs up or a thumbs down? We'll know real quick where we sit. And that's all I was suggesting.
point of information?
Yes.
Mr. Brown, you're saying that you're not 100% sure exactly all the ramifications of an amendment to that specific type of line item, right?
Right.
But then, Ms. Marnell, you're saying if we try to amend that now, we all just walk away and we're done and we just close the lights?
Well, I don't see-
Can I ask which one?
We don't have any money, how are we gonna?
But it's the 29th and we have 2 more days, and we have time to call the DCA.
But they're not gonna. The DCA doesn't jump because we say how much.
Sure, he has to re-advertise for his final
And
adoption.
then there are certain procedures that have. to
Speak
be
up, please.
So This could be, I don't know, 10, 15, 28, they could say, you have to allow.
And there's no precedent for something like this happening, literally, we don't know. There isn't.
They all have beauty, so.
I mean, I find it very hard to believe that, would it be the DCA would come down and literally tell us to shut our lights off and lock all of our doors and walk away? I don't think anybody wants that. And I think that we're actually finally getting to a point where we're all working in good faith. I think we,
Yeah, I don't think it's an issue of whether DCA is gonna come down, it's an issue of whether Josh is legally allowed to pay
Yeah.
expenditures within the budget for this.
sure, and there's no mechanism by which we can,
Correct.
we've already extended into some sort of temporary operating.
I don't wanna put any of the four of you in a situation where DCA comes down and we can apply it personally.
Yeah,
Well,
I've
I'm
also
willing
asked
to take
about
that
that.
risk to get where we need to go. and
We're well aware, I already, was informed with that, thank you, sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, you were saying you wouldn't want to advise to put us in a position where we would be personally liable for us moving into well, here's a question, if I was getting personally fined for us being in this situation, would it would be I personally fined as well as our government not being able to continue, or like, but I mean, then we could, there is no mechanism by which a temporary, my question was, is
I
there?
don't know whether that would happen, but it's potentially.
I'm not worried about that. That is not,
It's not thousands of dollars.
I know exactly what it is, we've looked into it, and that's not, I appreciate you looking out, I really do, believe me. But aside from that, there is not any mechanism that we're aware of in this room where we can continue to operate at the minimum that we need to in order to function over the next potentially 10 to 20 to 35 days that we need. Because it sounds to me like we're landing in a place where we're gonna actually be in agreement and land on an amendment that we all feel good about approving. I'm making assumptions on my,
There is, and Josh mentioned that.
And we already
With
did.
the approval of the Department of State.
So-
Waiver.
right, so can we explore that in the next 48 hours between now and July 1st? Well, I guess it's only 24 hours, but it's a short month. But I'm not just gonna go down without getting
But
ready.
that's not guaranteed. It's not
Well, you know, it's
guaranteed.
guaranteed,
It's not-
$500,000 worth of tax increases
It's
is
not,
guaranteed.
it's
to
not
be-
guaranteed.
Life is not
I understand, but you don't have to raise your voice.
Sorry.
It's not guaranteed regardless of, the only thing that's guaranteed is that we are at the point where our temporary operating budget is at its limit, its max. There's no more money to spend unless the budget is approved. Second, if you wanna make amendments to this, moving forward, it's gonna restart the clock. The DCA is not guaranteed to grant us a waiver. The DCA is not guaranteed to give us a timeline of when they will review it. So, we're approving, so, and then to say the DCA decides to not approve it at that particular time, then we back to the drawing board again. That could be another 2 months from now, correct? Or however.
Or 30.
So,
Mhm.
I mean, that's your that's the gamble I'm not willing to take.
Okay, well then why don't we go to roll call?
Roll
For the
call to
amendment?
what? That means you have to have a new amendment that we have to walk on, right? Because this is not the 2026
Okay.
-81 amendment. So what we're proposing is a whole new,
Yeah, can we vote on, I think there was a motion. and a
Speak
second.
up.
hold on.
Can we vote on 2026-81 first, Sherry? Was there a motion and a second?
Speak up.
There was
No.
a first or a second.
We didn't first or second
Okay,
that.
sorry.
Yeah,
There
we
was a
went right
first.
into a.
So what they proposed, Tom, they proposed a new resolution. They made a motion for a new resolution to amend the 2026 budget. So that would have to be -82? In that situation? Jerry?
Yeah.
Because that's a whole new,
Well, it would just be a motion at this point to have another amendment.
And then,
Once the amendment is done by the CFO, then it would become a resolution, it would be something that if we have to, and we have to have more meetings, it would be voted on then.
okay, so it can't be voted on,
This would just be a motion, basically,
Create amendments.
to create an amendment.
amendments.
Just like you did for work session.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a motion to create an amendment. Alright. And if we proceed with the motion to create an amendment, then we're at that standstill.
I'm sorry, point of information, I'm sorry to make this more complicated. Mr. Coleman, at the last meeting, sorry, I'm just trying to get my words to make sense. At the last meeting, we didn't just, at the work session, we did not just vote to create an amendment. We created the amendment and did the first reading. So why can't we do that now?
You did a motion to make amendments to the budget,
Yep,
and then we approved the budget on first reading. Because you have to have 2 readings of the budget. So now, your amendments that you made the motion for before are all now on resolution 2026-81.
yep,
So that is official.
mhm,
Now, we voted on it.
yep.
We talked about it, but we didn't make it official.
So what we should do is we should go ahead and approve that amendment,
And then,
because then if anything else that changes today would be on top of that.
Correct.
Okay, so, yes, thank you, that's super helpful.
Okay,
So can we make a vote?
so we have a first for current resolution 2026-81 to amend the 2026 budget based off our meeting on May 20th. We have a first, and we have a second. We have a-
A second.
We have a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Astor?
yes,
Ms. Burgess?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
Mr. Banks?
Yes.
okay. Now I move to make an amendment to the surplus, to reduce the surplus $200,000. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I would actually be 140, Tara. We
Wow.
just approved the amendment from last.
Just approved the amendment last, we
We
had
just did the
60,000.
Oh, no, I'm gonna take 200,000 out of the money we're getting, so it would be on top of, I think that's reasonable, that leaves us with quite a
No, but-
significant amount left over.
With Deputy Mayor said, she wants, you wanted
Wait.
two, wait, no, I thought it was 200 total.
I mean, I'm happy with the flat 200, that would be great, but it would be
So,
then
what are we doing?
140.
It's amended with an additional $160,000 out of the surplus to amend the budget.
So additional 160,
Yes.
okay, on top of the current 60 that we already
In
approved.
resolution 81, we approved $40,000.
Yeah, because of the almost, no, I'm sorry,
I thought we did 60.
I can't remember, and that was basically for cannabis revenue,
It
that
was,
we
it's
know we'll get
Yeah,
it.
it is 140.
So it's 140, so it's gonna be 200.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Yeah, so it is 140.
So additional
160 is
140.
So, yeah, an additional 140.
So that would be resolution -82.
I can't tell you that yet until it's put together, but this doesn't become a resolution right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
This doesn't become a resolution until the state says, okay, fine.
Okay.
So this is just a motion.
Okay, got it.
So just to be clear, your motion is to amend, is to make an amendment. Your motion is to pull an additional 140 out of surplus.
Yes.
Okay, I just need to check in before we roll off.
Do I have it? Okay, so I will say it again. I move to amend the budget for an additional 140,000 to be removed from the surplus. Do I have a second?
I will second.
We have a first and we have a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Astor?
Yes.
Ms. Burgess?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
Mr. Banks?
No. All right.
Point of-
that
real quick point of
resolution
order.
has-
If
It
there's-
has passed,
Yeah.
so,
I think I was probably on the same page
yes.
as you were, Mayor.
Yes, just.
What's next?
So, yeah, what's next at this point?
We can't have a budget.
We can't have a budget hearing at this point, so at this point, the meeting is going to be adjourned.
Well, we have other items,
No. We can't.
Well, then shouldn't we have done all the other things first and save this
Well,
for last, or
one
can we
thing-
not do it that way?
No,
There's ordinances, but sure can't.
Speak up.
there's ordinances, but like I said, the township is at a point where we can't move forward. And anything, that's why.
You literally can't
So that's why the
vote on
liquor
it.
licenses were moved up, because you didn't want to do that to the businesses.
Well, if we,
Thanks, what about
So-
the public speaking part?
Yeah,
We have it open to the public? Okay.
so point of information, there's nothing on the resolutions that we can address.
Now, because we can't, like I said, some of the resolutions are for paying bills. So
Some of them
we
are,
can't-
some of them are not. Granting a handicap spot, like those types of things are now, everything's just frozen.
Keep on looking at like, the ordinance, right, so we adopted or introduced it, show they can't.
Speak up.
Ordinance, revenue, fee proposal, tax sale.
Speak up, I can't hear you.
He's going through the list. Can you just be patient, please? They all have revenue impacts, right?
Okay, so, what would be next steps? Would that be, I'm assuming, Mr. Brown, you would reach out to the DCA and, or we would float this? We would float this amendment for
Yes,
review and
that's
approval?
fine.
Do we need to schedule like an executive session to discuss these ramifications tomorrow? Like, when do you think?
I don't know.
So, like I said, this is all new, so.
Yeah, I
at this
understand.
point-
I think,
At this point,
I think that, since there's some, maybe confusion, non-understanding, maybe might make sense to, do a motion for a, brief recess or executive session amongst us to have a conversation, and then rejoin the public in a little bit, just to get any clarifications we need, and if at the end of that conversation, there are items on the agenda in which requires advertising, paying bills for professionals, which we would not be able to do because of the budget, then they come back and we can state that and then, close the meeting and then reconvene once DCA comes back. Or maybe come back and make modifications, who knows, but I think at this point, let's take a brief minute, if everyone is in agreement to do that, have a brief conversation, and then come back. Maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's 10 minutes, but I think we need to have a brief conversation.
all right, so Deputy Mayor's proposing to go into executive session. I guess that's your first.
Yeah, I'll
Do
second.
you have a second?
Yep.
All right, so
Second.
move that we go into an executive session, 2:40. 41?
Yeah,
What do we want to?
yeah, there's, this would be, this is a contract.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So
We can just work it out together. I mean, so,
So you wanna do a brief recess then, or what?
Yeah.
I don't know, there's no reason to do a recess, we can't talk, so might as well just keep on going. I understand that there's a lot of frustration right now, I would love to get some clarity about what next steps are, so that we can keep it moving forward. And the two topics would be, number one, this needs to obviously get floated to the DCA, they need to review and approve. And then the other thing is, who and how do we research the, mechanism by which we can continue to operate, at least at a base level, as a municipality while this is being worked out?
Tom,
Can somebody give me some clarity about what those
Kim,
next
I
steps look
think,
like?
and everyone correct me if I'm incorrect, from what I heard is, by making changes to the budget, which we approved, the township has to submit those changes to the state and DCS to review them. And there's no time limit given on how long they can take, except for what I'm gonna assume is the same mandatory 28, 29 day time, like last time that it takes to make a change, wait for them to get back with it, advertise for a second. Uncertain whether or not they'll say yes or no, but we'll know, but from, I guess the timing, like what happens next, there's no money in the budget. So anything that requires paying bills, meaning employees and staff, I have to assume minus emergency personnel like police and public works type of stuff, the township building will be closed until such time noted that.
So I appreciate that, but I don't.
That's my assumption, right?
Okay, but I don't want anybody's assumption or guesses or anything like that. I would love to just understand who is going to be checking into the mechanism by which we can continue to operate. We are not the first municipality that has hit this wall before. I'm sure that there's a mechanism by which, especially because in good faith, we should have a budget approved in the next few weeks, and it's gonna be in the hands of the DCI as far as timing is concerned. So what are our next steps as far as making sure that we're at least operating at a minimum level while we work out the budget?
I suspect that the township manager and CFO will contact DCA as quickly as possible to see what's.
Okay, great. All right, amazing. So then I'll just, we can expect to hear back as soon as, that contact has been made and we get clarity, right?
Tom, the passage of that, also means that, we will have the inability to, accept the offer from the county, which expires in about 10 days for the property, since we can't spend any money on legal fees to review it and sign off and closings, et cetera.
So basically, we're gambling.
Yeah, I don't know, Rich, I have to think about that.
Well, the other avenue could be, we could ask them for an extension, we could ask, they said that offer expires in their, we could always ask them for another couple of weeks.
I think the county will be cool.
I think so too, I think they want it.
All right. So with that, open up to the public? Okay, so, nothing else to vote on. Matters presented by the public. Members of the public are invited to submit comments during the public comment portion of this meeting. The council pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act will not publicly discuss personnel matters and may choose not to respond to comments made by members of the public during this portion of the meeting. However, the council will give all comments appropriate consideration and refer all individual complaints to the township manager or appropriate township representative for a resolution. Each citizen will be allowed up to 4 minutes to speak in order to allow everyone an opportunity to express their opinions and/or concerns. Starting with the first one.
Good afternoon, Councilman.
Good afternoon.
We recently lost 3 businesses in Mount Holly. And in this business climate, it's extremely difficult to attract new businesses to our town. I entered into a redevelopment agreement with the town, as you're aware of, and I've continued to uphold my end of the agreement. I currently have 5 businesses ready to move into the building: a coffee roaster, a bike shop, a doctor's office, a bakery, and ocean tents for storage. Unfortunately, I have been unable to move any of these tenants in for over a year because this project has been put on hold. During this time, I have continued paying the property taxes, insurance, utilities, and other expenses while waiting to move forward. The cannabis portion for this property was approved unanimously by the council on May 15, 2026. Based on that approval, we moved forward in good faith by purchasing equipment and securing a $550,000 lighting grant that requires installation by January 1st. Because this project has been delayed, we are now at risk of losing the grant. I also want to clarify that the building is located on 2 lots. There is a separate lot within the redevelopment zone that is not part of the property and has nothing to do with our project. That separate parcel should not delay or impact what we are trying to accomplish. Also, the redevelopment agreement states specifically 10 retail stores on Washington Street, which we intend to fill. I have proven a track record of bringing new businesses and investments into Mount Holly and surrounding communities. This redevelopment will create jobs, fill vacant commercial space, increase UEZ tax revenue, and generate additional tax revenue for the township. I understand Mount Holly is facing a budget challenge, and this project represents an opportunity to bring new investment and long-term revenue into the community. I'm not here to discuss politics. I'm here to ask that this project be evaluated on its merits and that the commitments made under this redevelopment agreement be honored. Thank you for your time.
Cool, thank you.
You're good. That's okay.
Good afternoon, my name is Louis Lopez, I live in 9895 Mount Pleasant, New Jersey. I have a comment that came to me, why is the township is acting like the movie from 2011 called Mayor Cupcake. And I would say, in 2001, I would say, it's doing a similar what's happening right now. Second is, people are believing, July 4th, cancellation because of this situation going on. It's not because of the state, it's not because of us, you know, it's because of township. And so, have to look at the whole, and celebrate our special event, the 250th anniversary. People are really disappointed and angry why we can't get it together. And second is, I have 4 questions on agenda item. One of them is on the first reading, and one of them, if you could clarify what it means. The 2026 7. And anybody can come and explain that?
What was it again, Louise?
Ordinance 2026 -7.
69 and 70, is that what you're asking about?
Yeah, first reading,
Ordinance,
the
ordinance
ordinance
7.
2026 -7.
Okay.
Louis, 2026-7.
Yeah.
Oh, this is virtual.
Yeah, it's just an update on the crosswalk.
It's an update. Yeah, it's an update, I think virtual is requesting to update the crosswalk.
No, Louis, this is a clarification. In the original planning board approval, the resolution was prepared inappropriately, or was prepared, there was a typo in it. This is just cleaning up what the planning board previously did and inserting these crosswalks into our schedule of crosswalks. Nothing new, just they have.
Okay. Second is, there should be, how you say, a project X, celebration for July 4th. It should happen here. If they really want to, everybody get around and let everyone just come and, support and bring vendors. I think that would be a good part. I don't know if that's possible, but it can. And my last big comment is about resolution, 64, 73, and 74. Yeah, okay, some clarifying, yeah, so we identify them.
64, right, Louis?
Yeah, 64, 73, 74.
I can answer 64, we'll go to 64 is a required resolution. We passed the UEZ, a resolution for, marketing, small businesses downtown. And that, resolution was for that. So that is, it gets approved here, and then it gets approved, it goes to the state. So there's 3 levels of approval. There's UEZ, township, then state approval, and then it comes back to the township to approve receiving the funds. So this is step 2 of 4 steps for that resolution.
73 is parking.
73 is the school parking. That's the school. The school's doing a project to put new parking and like a loop over at Brainerd School. And we said they can go ahead and use part of our property to do it.
Right away.
And 74 is just returning,
$50 each to two different people who came through vital statistics and wanted corrections. The corrections couldn't be done, and we're refunding their money.
And just to remember, tonight is our Vice Commission meeting at 7, to let everybody know. Thank you.
Thank you, Louis. Anyone else in the first row?
I'm not ready.
Anyone else in the first row?
Good afternoon. I got the microphone on. I don't need it, but they need it in the back. My name is James J. Nelson Jr. I live at 193 Jefferson Avenue, Mount Holly, and I have a couple questions. We had construction on Lois Lane, Jefferson Avenue, and South Avenue by the water company, putting in new lines. I don't know who approved them doing what they did, but what they should have done is made the road passable. It's so bumpy, people are losing a lot of time because it's so rough. It never was done right. And I'd like to know, does the township know anything about that? And if anything is being done to correct it?
The county's supposed to pay South Ave, the water company will be paying.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
So the county's supposed to be, paving South Avenue, and the water company will come in and repave Lois and Jefferson.
Okay. Next question. There's a lot of going on with the hospital. They're building a road from Madison Avenue around somewhere, and I want to know, is it impacting Jefferson Avenue or Lois Lane?
It does not. It
Does not.
Does not. I also have a question. I've been coming here for almost 2 years with Carolyn Tice, trying to figure out when they're going to put a retaining wall because her property is disappearing through the ravine. We were told a long time ago they was waiting for a grant. They got the grant, but it's still not been done. And the next question is the road that the hospital is supposed to be building by the ravine, and they're building a retaining wall all the way around to where the Jefferson Avenue is deteriorating because there's undermined water lines. When are they going to do the retaining wall around Miss Tice's property?
We just recently put in for a permit, June 10th.
I'm sorry?
So we just recently put in for a permit with the DEP, June 10th. Once they approve the permit, then we can go out to bid for the project.
Well, can we ask to expedite this? Because this is over 2 years going, and she's been there for a long time. And it's since the roadway of Jefferson Avenue is completely undermined because the road's cracked all the way down from South Avenue down past my house. And this is not the first time they've fixed this, the way I understand it. Now, I've lived there 42 years. So that was my question.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the first row? All right, moving on. Second row? Any comments, questions? Second row?
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. My name is Carolyn Tice, 189 Jefferson Avenue, Mount Holly. I received a letter from the Limos where they're gonna work on the street drain. At the end of the road, but that street drain in the middle is collapsed. It doesn't make sense, you know. So anyway, he's the expert, let him take care of it. What I'm worried about is there was a grant that you got for my retaining wall on this side of my home. And I was informed that they were gonna start in February. I understand the frozen snow nobody could do anything, you know. This is going on in July now, a couple more days. And I need to know an answer. This, you know, I've been very patient all these years. I've been there since 1970. My whole street collapsed because of that big street drain. And I get, you know, when they say they're just gonna work in the dead end out, which is very nice, and I'm happy they're going to do this. You need to back up and check the pipe before you do that. But anyway, and thank you ladies for helping us with the township, for taxes and everything else. I really appreciate it. You're, you know, on the go about worrying about us. And I thank you. You guys have been in my home, you know, and so you know I'm not stretching it. So I appreciate an answer.
Okay.
And I would thank you for that.
We understand, Ms. Tyson. Thank you.
So, do you have any idea?
Josh did explain to you that the permit was applied earlier this month in June. So we wait on approval from the DEP, from the state. So once we get that approval, then we can go out to bid to start the project.
Because
But
they did test the ground and everything.
we don't know when that's gonna happen.
You know, dug way down in my yard to test for the environmental, you know, that they did. And I didn't quibble about getting new grass running. I don't care, I want it fixed. But I thank you all.
Cool. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you
Tyson.
for at least hearing me.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Linda Miller, and I live at 48 Cherry Street. Okay, I have a quick comment and a quick question. The comment is actually a compliment that I'm thank. I've been trying for years, as had my neighbors and neighbors on Garden Street, to do something about the problem of the intersection of Mount Holly Avenue and Garden Street. And finally, put in a four-way stop sign with a blinking light and a big sign, and has turned our lives around. We can now cross the street without taking our lives in our hands. The cars are driving slower. It's everything we dreamed of. I have a neighbor who said that she allows her children to ride their bikes in the street now because it's much safer. It's a shame it took so long because I know people got hurt, cars got smashed, houses got smashed, but at least we're now in a good place with that. So thank you for addressing that issue. And my question is the tax bill. I did some checking of my records, and in 2025, my bill from 2024 was raised $440. That was reasonable, and I can manage that. This year, without any warning or anything, the bill came in the mail, and it was $1,604 raise. That is a lot of money for a person on a fixed income. And no, you know, I would just like to know why. Because nothing came with the bill, it's just here, you know, now pay $1,600 more. My daughter also, her bill went, and that represents 23% raise. That's crazy. So I'm just wondering what the additional money is for. Can you answer some of that now, or can you publish something, or how are you gonna handle that?
For our portion, the average is $161 for the households. We don't, there's a couple other entities that are also taxing people, so I can only talk about our portion.
Okay, but, you know, can you explain the $1,600 raise?
I can't.
Can
You
anybody?
can't explain the 1,600 because our portion, like Jen said, averaged 160. So you still had county, you still had the schools that raised taxes too as well. You have the county that raised taxes, other entities along with us as well. So that could be why. But I don't know, you don't know that for sure in terms of exactly how much your bill went up. You only can tell from our portion.
Anybody else I can ask?
You could attend a school board meeting, a fire district meeting, the county.
Fire
meeting,
district,
and
I think was.
they would have to account for their own.
Oh, they be small?
Yeah, there's about
Hopefully they're a little quick.
6 or 7 entities over there, including open space, with the county.
Yeah.
Each one takes a little bit of that chunk. I, like yourself, saw my estimated tax bill, and it went up quite a bit. But each entity, the local school, the regional schools, the county, the township, the fire, open space. I think there's one more, I can't get up my head, but all of those add up to that number that you saw.
All right, well, I'll compare all those numbers from last year to this year and see who I have to
There
complain
should
to.
be, I thought there is on the,
I thought
isn't there like on the little corner, there's a little breakdown?
I thought we did see the
Yeah.
breakdown of.
Yeah, I'll take a look at the breakdown and see where I have to
You
complain
can see where the
next.
big chunk is.
Yeah.
I can hint.
I think.
Thank you.
2026 did not come with a breakdown when they said that.
Oh.
No, you won't get it till later, like,
That's like the final, I think, the final bill. I think.
yeah, that's the last one.
I think that's.
And you won't get another
No, I
one
think
until
it's-
you're the big one.
Okay.
People ask themselves.
Green is good.
The pink one when it comes.
Yeah. Anyone else in that row, second? All right, moving on to the third row. Anyone else in the third row? It's working.
Good afternoon, council members. Stone Laraway, 114 Branch Street. I took time off to be here today because I believe residents deserve a real opportunity to weigh in on the township budget. I'll be honest, scheduling the meeting at 2 p.m. on a weekday makes that very difficult for most working residents. I'm asking that future budget discussions include an evening or a weekend session, or at a minimum, a published written summary and a way to submit comments afterwards. This isn't an isolated concern. Many of us have also seen community events canceled or scaled back with little advance notice or resident input, including this year's 250th anniversary planning. I want to partnership with Township, not feel like we're finding things out after the fact. I'd appreciate if the council could commit to a more accessible format going forward and to a clear process for residents to follow up on questions raised at meetings like this one. We could also, I don't know if we got the word out, but Hainsport is celebrating their 100th anniversary. Bordentown also has fireworks. Florence has fireworks. I want to thank, gratitude to Councilwomen Burkus and Astor, and thank you, Rich DeFalco, for this past week. There's something called decorum, and the council and the leadership really needs to know what this is. Reading body language where your hands are crossed because you're frustrated, or you're rolling your eyes at residents when they're talking, or not looking at them directly because you're bored, or asking solicitors to speak up because we can't hear them in the back because they don't know how to use a microphone, isn't asking for much. Gaslighting also, by the way, is never acceptable. There's something called transparency, Mayor Banks. If you would have put the resolution on there about what was being discussed, perhaps we wouldn't be in this predicament. Talking like this doesn't really do anything because nobody in the back can hear anybody. Question everything, stay curious, fail forward. The town needs you awake. The town needs you awake. Veritas minute. The truth remains. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in that row? All right, that's row 3, and we're in row 4.
Maureen Taylor Ford, 117 Brand Street. Happy Monday. Just curious, as I'm sitting back there, I really wasn't gonna say anything, but as I'm sitting back there and I hear the I don't knows and the I don't knows and the I don't knows. I've been coming maybe 3-4 years now to the meeting since I came back from Afghanistan, my husband and I don't know why we don't know. I don't understand why we don't know. So 3 years now, I have paid my way to go to the New Jersey League of Municipalities. It's a wealth of information. This is one of the topics they speak about. So why don't we know?
Because you need a waiver from the DCA.
Okay,
That's
so,
why you don't know.
so Josh, when I went to the New Jersey League of Municipalities, that's one of the sessions.
That's
So,
one of the sessions.
okay, so then why
But you need a
aren't,
waiver from the DCA.
why aren't your employees in these sessions then to learn this? Because I don't know, it's not relevant. You cannot, how long have you been township manager? Come on, how long has Sherry been here? Who's the CFO? What is going on that
If you ask questions that never come up before, and you need responses from the DCA, the question that you should receive is, I don't know. I'm not gonna give you an answer that I'm just
I can,
make up.
and I appreciate that maybe you yourself have never been in that situation, but these classes at New Jersey League of Municipalities that my taxes pay for all of you, this whole damn township, down to UEZ, everybody gets paid, everybody goes to the regatta, everybody's drunk and hungover, and then they go to the classes. So why are you guys not getting I can appreciate this may be the first time for everyone sitting here, but it's not the first time in the entire state of New Jersey. That's what I'm getting at. Where is the education? The education is there. You got a problem, Mayor Banks?
Nope, let me finish. Can you finish? Can you finish?
No, I'm just gonna stand here. Let my time run out. You can finish napping.
Yeah. I need one. Can you see how I'm trying to do it?
I'm watching. I got 4 eyes.
Good. Thank you, Ms. Ward. Anyone else in that row?
Yes.
I want to thank the lady, excuse me, my name is Sally Wiggins. I live at 217 Harrison Avenue. I've been here 23 years. I've watched my taxes go from just under $3,000 a year to over $5,000 a year. I understand the price of everything is going up. I understand that my brother was a township manager at Morristown, so I understand all that. But I don't expect to get hit with a 9.7 tax increase from the township without notice. That is very, very inconsiderate to your taxpayers, to the people that live in this town. I am not happy. It almost makes me want to throw my house up for sale. What's his name? That's rebuilding all these houses?
Right.
Thank you. He can buy mine, and I can get out of here. I moved here because of the small town environment. Thought my kids could do well here. I was a single mother raising 2 kids. I can't afford now that my health has gone down to pay for taxes this high. And it should not hit us like this. We should have gotten notice. We should have been told. You should have worked the budget out. As you were finding there was issues, you should have informed the public instead of just sending out a little increase or a big increase in our tax bill without notice. I know everything costs money, but we also have to live and survive. I thank the ladies for doing that, for stopping the budget from going through. I was an essential worker when the federal government shut down. I didn't get paid for over 7 weeks. But I survived. And so will the people who work for the township. They'll survive. We'll get through this. But you can't expect to slam everybody with a tax increase without some justification. And I thank you for giving me eye contact, because I notice that you do roll your eyes. You do sit there bored. You do sit there and twiddle. We all do some of that, but having some respect for the people that pay the taxes and help keep this running. And what the school board did with giving that superintendent a raise, I couldn't make that meeting, but that's a shame. And my granddaughter goes to that school, and thank God they're moving out of this town. Because that is atrocious of what he has done. She's a Holbein student, and it's horrible over there. You want good people to move in here, then you gotta give them respect. And a lot of it you aren't doing. You're shutting down services, and I understand you're only paying for the police. And I know that's a lot of money. But when you shut down the fireworks because you can't do it and because there's trouble, I live down the street. I know what it is. I go to it every year. And then you go, oh, we can't because of trouble in Maple Shade or the trouble somewhere else. That's a shame, what you just did. And you should be appalled about your behavior. But thank you for giving me eye contact for a part of my speech. I'm finished.
Thank you. Anyone else in that room? Next row.
Jim Luke, 322 Washington Street. I share the frustration that the public and members of the administration and township have that the budget couldn't be done in a timely and statutory manner. But we gotta remember that this wasn't presented to the council in a timely manner. So, I think we need to, ask, why is the mayor and the township administration failing to present it until the last minute? There's old saying, I might butcher this, but, a lack of, preparedness on your part does not create an emergency on my part. The fact that the administration didn't do it in a timely manner is not the fault of members of the council. Just next door in Lumberton, they start the budget hearings year after year after year in January. Involve everybody in it so that it can be done correctly. And, if you guys would have looked at the state statute, there are plenty of line items you can cut without a second reading. And just to say, I'm taking my ball and going home because someone wants to cut the spending, we're not gonna do anything, is an application of your responsibility, Mr. Mayor. Frankly, towns all the time miss the deadline. Just last year, I think it was October 16th, that it was a Ventnor or Montclair passed their budget. The town didn't shut down. You see both in council manager form of government and manager council form of governments all the time. Mayor council form does all the time. It can go into October year after year after year. Obviously, the state gets very testy at that point, but it happens. And the building doesn't shut down, the lights don't go off, the employees don't go home. The town council has the ability, which I assume the solicitor would know, to pass an emergency temporary budget in situations like this. So it happens routinely dozens of times each year that municipalities fail to do the budget for a whole host of reasons. Deadlock, the management, such as this town case, didn't present in a timely manner for them to actively do it, and yet it passes eventually. The state might get a little annoyed, but they let you pass an emergency temporary budget on top of the temporary budget already passed to pay for township employees. Obviously, you can't undertake new additional programs and spending, but you can continue along the way and done. So it doesn't take that long to check into this stuff. And I pray that you guys take the time and that you need to research it, make additional changes as much as needed to save the burden of the taxpayers from crushing new taxes. You guys can't affect what happens with the various school districts, the county, open space, but you can affect what you do. The ball's in your court. Take your time, do it right, get an emergency temporary budget passed, make whatever cuts you need to do, put off new spending so it's not crushing 1 year. I'm not on no delusion that we're gonna have a 0% tax increase. I don't think anybody in the public is under that delusion. But a 10% tax increase or a 4%, 5% tax increase is a big deal. Make smart choices, do some of the activities this year, and then next year, add ourselves. Everyone in the public has to make priorities. Would I like a new car this year? But I need a new roof, so I guess I'm gonna wait a year. I think the township needs to follow the lead. If you can't afford it, then push it off for the future. So take your time, do it right, and I urge you to schedule a budget meeting here now today to go forward. So it's not magically pops up 2 o'clock in the afternoon budget in the future. Schedule an evening meeting for later this week, next week, and keep going at it 3-4 times a week until you get it completed correctly. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else see those following rows?
Hi, Amber Coca-Ross, 100 Madison Avenue. I had to think about what I wanted to say a little bit today, just because I don't know how I continue to be surprised by some things, but here we are. I moved here several years ago, and I love so much about this town, like more than I ever could have anticipated. I did not grow up in the area, I did my research, and I was very excited to move here, but it has exceeded everything that I had hoped for. And part of what I love about the town is the people, the events, the camaraderie, because what other town is going to have this many people at 2 o'clock on a Monday? That's how many people in a small town, you know, we have who care, who are here showing up. And they're showing up not just because they want better for themselves, but for their neighbors and for their communities. We have people who showing up month after month, like advocating, not even for themselves, but for their neighbors. And that is so laudable and admirable, and I think part of what makes this town so great and such, I'm just so happy that I'm here, even though there is some recurring nonsense. But what I'm tired of is being the center of negativity in local, state, and even nationwide news, because we just like can't get it together. And so it's just unfathomable to me too that any of this works for some of you in any other personal or professional part of your life. These habits of cutting people off, rolling your eyes, flipping the same pages over and over again. It's just disdain for the general public, and it calls into question why you decided to serve the public in the first place, since you seem to have so much disdain and distaste for us. You know, I can't imagine disrespecting the people here right now at 2 o'clock on a Monday. I can't, even if you disagree. And, you know, in every facet of my life, I have people who disagree with decisions that I make. I assign homework, they hate that. I still respect them. And so this is just, I don't know, it's beyond the pale. I also don't understand how now we're also the subject of, you know, the news stories with the fireworks. I understand the police department's complaints. I don't do their job, I get it. What kind of blows my mind though is that when I was here at the previous budget meeting, you guys were sitting up there discussing the fireworks, the events, the budget for the supplies and for the police coverage and all of that, and yet that letter had been sent well in advance of that. And so this recurring also not just disrespect, but lack of communication, not only with the public, but with the appropriate members of council and various boards. This is why we can't get it together, because nobody's even sharing relevant information. So while there was back and forth over the fire department, or excuse me, the fireworks budget, and like, fine, we'll just cancel it, whatever. Well, really, off to the side, like over a month prior, it was shared with someone that the way that it was set up was not safe. So at some point, we have to just stop looking so foolish and scrambling and behave professionally. That's my request. I'm sure it will go as far as what the previous ones. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Gee, I had to stop myself at writing 9 pages. There's so many things to do wrong. My name is David Bialba, 166 Ronconcos Road. Everybody here has complained about taxes. That's an important topic. Where do I start? You know, part of what you have already is advertising. You have marketing, and yet you're asking for more money from the UEZ for advertising. That kind of makes me scratch my head. As far as your resolution for urban enterprise zone budget, you're not getting grants, you're not getting government financial aid from them. Banks, I hope this is really your last year, because you're inept and you're incompetent. I forgot to bring up the calendar. Hamilton puts out a calendar. They don't pay for it. I asked them, I talked to them, I go to different towns, I have a stack of calendars. They use advertisement from different companies. So if you kept canceling the calendar, shows me your skill level, what you have, what you're thinking. You're not being proactive. That goes the same with the fireworks, that goes the same with the 4th of July. You're not being proactive to anything that the people are saying. And they have a lot of complaints here, a lot of things that you should be addressing. I mean, I've seen the signs of Voltra, for example, they're going out of business. I wonder, is that the one they owe the taxes Are they gonna develop a new LLC and open up under a different name and rebrand, and we're gonna miss out on the taxes there? So that makes me question that, you know, and how much taxes are they owe? Or in the past, there was a company that did own from the cannabis. How much is the tax increase that we're gonna keep going up? A lot of people are talking about that, so if you have a lot of the different departments that are increasing. Now, one of the other things that is important to me is that you have 2 meetings, not just one. Brown, you sit on a lot of committees. Mr. Flacco, you sit on a lot of committees. You should be able to be here in 2 meetings a month, at least, for the people to come in and voice their opinion and their concerns. The other thing that we have is the safety. We have a lot of theft and people with their e-bikes and so on, and people getting accosted. I don't know why you haven't put in cameras. I understand that people have volunteered to put in cameras. Mr. Zavalco's a computer person. I'm a computer person. I'm sure there's people here who are the same. We can assist you in that. It's not rocket science. Put it on the main points you can control. That would have been the same thing for the fireworks. If you're proactive and you have cameras, people won't come into the town and cause havoc. So you don't have to put the blame on Spencer. Speaking of Spencer, where is Chief Spencer? Why isn't he here? He should be here. So is the CFO. She should be here. Denise, I believe her name is. I don't know what you're doing with that. As far as the town is concerned, why aren't you helping the town improve instead of having a lot of empty businesses in town? You have a lot of facades in the business that they can use in improvement. Why isn't someone walking up and down and looking at that, taking pictures, addressing that? A lot of these things I'm gonna put on the website, and I'm gonna put it out there so that people can really look at it. How come you haven't done a really intensive research on the results of cannabis and how the impact is having in the town? I speak to a lot of people, and according to my research and speaking to people, they don't like that's coming in as much as it is. Why aren't you particularly zoning it in a particular area? As David Diamond said himself, why hasn't he gotten assistance in any of his projects? We have Mark here, who's a long time at Columbus Market. He has issues and concerns from the town, that things that aren't going well. Again, a lot of pages here. Unfortunately, my time runs out, but if you had 2 meetings a month, it would be great. And why you sit on so many boards? I really hope, Mr. Banks, is your last time you're running.
Okay, your time is up. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you for everything.
You're welcome for everything.
Thank you. Thanks. Anyone else?
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Sarah Moore. I live at 435 Parkview Drive. I don't get to come to these meetings as much as I want to, so I want to thank Louis for putting them on YouTube so I can watch them after the fact. I know you guys have gotten beat up today, so I'm going to take a little different perspective. I want to talk to you about legacy and what it means to me. My grandparents, both Navy veterans, my grandfather was a lieutenant commander in the Navy, have lived in Mount Holly since the 70s. My mother, 2 aunts, and uncle attended Holbein and RV. I myself grew up here. I lived with my grandparents. My mother and I moved to Marlton for a number of years, but you know who I always stayed with on the weekends? My grandparents here in Mount Holly. My grandparents passed in 2009. Guess whose house I bought? My grandparents' house in Mount Holly. Me and my husband, all by ourselves, we stayed here. And I'm raising my 2 kids in this district. I love this town, and it was affordable at the time. Now I have gone from paying $1,500 a quarter in taxes to paying $2,500 a quarter. It is more than my mortgage. It is 55% of my monthly pay. My August tax bill alone has gone up by $500. I think you guys are a little too cavalier regarding these increases. You are too accepting of the numbers provided to you. You question nothing, you criticize nothing. You are so eager to push this budget through without scrutiny. None of you are concerned about an extensive stay at the Borgata. You've got a controversial fire director sitting at home on leave, still collecting a paycheck. You shrug your shoulders at this stuff like it's no big deal. Saying we have to find a way, it doesn't cut it. I can't just find a way. My husband is currently unemployed and I'm making $2,300 less a month because I had to take on the health insurance for all 4 of us at $1,600 a month. I'm a cancer survivor. I was diagnosed 2 months before my 40th birthday, before I needed to have a mammogram. And as a result of the chemo that saved my life, I now have to be on heart meds the rest of my life. No insurance is not an option for me. My one heart medication before I was switched to generic was $800 a month. My home and my car insurance has skyrocketed. Forget I was a member of the same insurance company since I was 18 years old. No accidents in 15 years, 1 homeowner claim in 12 years. I feel sorry for the seniors who are on stricter budgets than I am. I can't tell you how many 401k hardship withdrawals I've had to make in the last few months. Mind you, my current job is the first one to have offered me a 401k plan in the first place. I'll be 43 in September, so I am literally still behind the game. I think just telling us to find a way is really out of touch and very dismissive. Like my fellow residents, the weight of the world is on my shoulders. You can't ask us for more and offer the same quality of services. You can't have your hand out and take away events that we all look forward to every year. You can't expect your voters to continue to pay for mediocrity, complacency, and ill-preparedness and cover it up with "we find a way." Now, I don't share my life story or my situation for sympathy, but I wanted to remind you of the people that you're representing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nix. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? All right, we're gonna close the public portion of this meeting. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for sharing. Now, moving forward.
I have a question. And maybe Josh and Sherry. Because the UEZ is a separate sub-entity, and funded by itself through its initiative budget, would there be any harm in moving forward with the UEZ related resolutions, since their admin budget and everything that we do as Smith and State flows through our added budget? This would be resolution 2026-64, would also be 2026-72, and I think there was one more, at 65. And we need to pass our admin budget, which is not related to the township budget.
From 30,000 feet, I don't have a problem, but I would just defer to John Perry to make sure there's no financial impact on us. I don't believe there is, but.
I don't know the answer to that, so I answered the question. I think a lot of this stuff is very time sensitive, it gets to the state purposes.
You guys speak up a little bit. We're having a conversation with the town manager first. Sorry, repeat that.
Did you just say pass what you want?
Yeah.
64, 65, and which one?
72.
Only for the UZ.
Right, those are the only these three. It was resolution 2026-64, 65, and 72.
And 66, you said? Let's go through the list one more time to make sure. Anything else that needs to be added? Or?
Yeah, that would be it. That would be 64, 5, 6, 72. Because everything else, yeah, everything else has a financial impact. Probably could do 78. Public Works and Police, we still operate either way. I guess, I don't know. I'll say to make a motion to approve resolution number 2026 64 65 66 and 72 and 78.
All right, so we have a motion for just the consent agenda, 64, 65, 66, 72, and 78. So, we already have first, we have a second. We have a second. That was Ms. Ashley. All right, roll call, please.
Ms. Astor? Point of information, and this may not be relative, at the last meeting when we were talking about, the budget, is our PR firm, Thomas Boyd Communications, are they renewed for another year, and are they going to continue to be paid through, are we gonna pay them? Is that, you answered it before, they're getting paid through USE funds?
Correct, as part of the.
Microphones, please.
Apologies, sorry.
Thank you.
No,
I had asked that, I knew that our communications, company, Thomas Boyd Communications, was up for renewal, and it was, told to us that they were being paid through UBZ funds, not through Township, and I was curious in one of these resolutions if the communications firm would continue to be funded through UBZ money again for another year.
I will, yes, it was interfering, sorry, with the both on.
For whatever reason. Yes, part of the UEZ advertising and marketing project will be partially Thomas Boyd Communications. It'll also be the billboard, as the billboard can no longer be in the administrative budget for the UEZ. As well in that, there was discussion on the UEZ board that would include things like digital marketing, direct-to-mail marketing. Again, this is all marketing related to providing insight to our small businesses within the UEZ zone. For years, it was just a billboard, and this is an expansive project to bring more awareness to all the small businesses within the UEZ zone. So that Thomas Boyd piece is a small portion of the entire project. This may go into possibly TV ads, maybe local ads. It's the whole scope of over 3 years. This is a 3-year budget.
Thomas Boyd be providing services for UEZ and the township as far as PR?
They can provide through UEZ. I would welcome any support that they provide PR for the UEZ in their zone.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we had a first and we had a second. Any other questions? So we have a first and we have a second. Any other questions? Nope. Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Astor?
Yes.
Ms. Burgess?
Yes.
Mr. DePalma?
Yes.
Mr. Banks?
Yes. Thank you. All right, there's nothing else on the list to approve. Do we have any matters by the township manager? Any discussion? Our solicitor? All right, matters presented by council, starting with Ms. Burgess.
Yep. Yes, so a few things. Thank you for everybody who came out on a weekday in the middle of the day. I know it's less than convenient. I really appreciate those of you who came out. It was also wonderful to see some new faces, although I'm sure that you didn't just come out here for fun and games. Unfortunately, maybe it wasn't for the best reason, but it is great to meet some new people. And again, I appreciate everybody taking time out of likely their work day to come and participate. Obviously, we're up against the timeline, and it is getting harder, was getting harder and harder, and will continue to get harder and harder to find a moment where everybody is available. Try to do our best to make ourselves as flexible as possible as we continue to bump up against some serious deadlines, obviously. Start off with the good stuff. I wanted to thank the county and Main Street, Mount Holly, the Township, Public Works, and our police department for what I thought was a fantastic 250th celebration on Flag Day. I thought it was great. I loved the ringing of the bell. There was a lot of things to do. It was a very family-friendly event, and obviously was very well attended. So I'm appreciative of all of those entities that came together to pull that off. Wonderful to be a part of it, and really exciting that it happened here in the county seat, Mount Holly. Let's see. So communications-wise, I hear what everybody is saying in regards to communication. Technically, I have yet to be informed that the Independence Day celebrations have been canceled. I found out from screenshots from friends on social media. I also still haven't seen officially the letter that came from the police. Very interesting also to me to have sat here through part of a budget discussion that included the cost of an event that we already knew was in jeopardy at the last meeting. So incredibly frustrating, but not uncommon. So for example, I also am still waiting for my township calendar. I don't know where that happened. I don't know where it is. I don't know why it's not happening. I have no information about that. And it's something that I've been receiving since many, many years ago. I attended RV and lived in Tharpsfield, and we got the township calendar. So we love that. But instead, apparently, what we get is a little bit of propaganda with past event dates. That is called our newsletter, which is incredibly frustrating as well. So again, the communication, if you think that that all of us up here are holding back information, that is not what's happening. Incredibly frustrating. Also incredibly frustrating, and I try to keep it really professional and very respectful. I've never been in a situation in the 4 years that I've been on council where I've felt so completely unsupported and absolutely uncooperated with as I have over the last couple of months. There's one or two people that sit up here who didn't come to these conversations with a single offer of a dime of savings. I'm not saying this from a political standpoint. If anybody who knows me knows that I am certainly not a particularly political person, nor am I upwardly mobile in that regards. And I'm here fighting for my life, along with Tara, with a little bit of help of maybe one or two others. And even just the attitude that when I try to ask clarifying questions is absolutely insane. This is not something I would ever accept or participate in my professional life. I have to say that out loud because I feel like I'm starting to misbehave a little bit. I'm finding myself rolling my eyes. I'm finding myself starting to lose my cool. It's been a long 4 years, and I feel like I'm in final boss stage, trying to fight for my own tax bill, as well as everybody else's, and it is absolutely absurd. I don't understand how our CFO is not here. I don't understand why why are we not prepared for this to happen today? Why do we not have answers, if then answers, about what happens if we did not pass this today? I did not believe I was coming in here to pass this unless I was sitting with some miracles happening. Did not happen. Shocker. So I don't understand why I'm not getting answers that I need, and then we're going to shut down the government. Oh, but we can't pass anything. Oh, but wait, yeah, we are. We're going to pass 6 things. I would love to know more. I'd love to do more. This is a part-time gig for us. I can't know everything. I rely on our professionals to answer these questions for us, and I'm not getting literally anything. So incredibly frustrating, and I'm working as hard as I can. Let's see, what else? How are we not prepared? Next year, the only thing I can think of that I can do better is, again, a little more learning, a little more research, and honestly, pushing to start this process much earlier. Because if this is what's going to happen, we need a little more time. We bumped up against some incredibly serious, both personal and professional things. This happens. Let's be prepared for this. This would never occur again in my professional life. And then I think that's it from me. Interested to see how the next few days go, and would love to officially make sure that we have a very direct and frequent communication about how we're gonna make sure that the township functions as it needs to while we work out this absolutely ridiculous situation. That's it for me.
Thank you, Ms. Burns. Ms. Astor?
Thank you, Kim. So also the 250th celebration that we had on June 14th, also Flag Day, we actually both attended, volunteered a little bit, and it was really nice to see this collaboration with county and a whole bunch of surrounding towns. There were volunteers, but also elected officials and mayors, Evesham, Southampton, Tabernacle, Hainesport. It was just really, really nice, and it gave us both an insight to what awesome things we can do when we collaborate. And I know also like Main Street Mount Holly and Jim, the St. Patrick's Day Parade, like all these different, nonprofit entities and leaders also coordinated, and I would love to see more of that. And it also shares the cost burden in just, funding an event. And it was a very lovely celebration. And then also, I'm just gonna go along and leave the juicy stuff for the last. For the calendar, yes, I know that in the past, our calendar had actually been funded by ad revenue and sponsors. So I think that we should start planning now for the calendar next year and maybe get someone who could actually go around and get local businesses and sponsors to either buy ads or just outright sponsor to pay for the calendar rather than just either paying $10,000 or not having it at all. I think that we could absolutely do that. And I'm ready and willing to schedule additional meetings to pass whatever is needed any day or time. I luckily have somewhat of a flexible schedule if I'm told I need to be here so that we can continue all this other stuff we need to get done. I'm committed. Sorry. For the fire director, I know there was someone who made a comment about that. Because that is a separate entity, that is the fire district. I know it's very disappointing that we have someone getting paid to sit at home, but as township, we have no control over that. So if you haven't already been going to the fire district meetings, would be a great way to keep up on that whole situation. The next one is July 15th. Okay. Said that. And I also agree with Kim. I know Lumberton has their budget meeting the very beginning of January on a Saturday every year. I absolutely think that we need to start doing that and have all of our department heads. And then if there's a conversation and we have questions and it's not good enough, we have plenty of time to keep meeting again and amending until everyone comes to an agreement on what a good budget is and everything is funded. So no more waiting, and I think we got the actual full budget like mid-April, and not good enough. Let's see, so we're gonna do that. For the fireworks, I know Kim had already stated her communication. I also did not receive any communication whatsoever about the fireworks cancellation I found out on Facebook. And then in regards to the email, in regards to the police feeling that we shouldn't have it this year, and I totally understand that as it gets bigger. It's a huge crowd, and because it's so hard for the police to contain everything, I understand it, and there already have been conversations, a lovely meeting that a local resident, Stone Laraway, had organized with several members of the community, and I stopped by a little bit late after work, of people brainstorming like, what can we do next year? And it could be everything from possibly having it at the county fairgrounds, where there could be better security in multiple towns, can offer a police officer or two as tribute, along with our sheriff's department, and also pull the resources to fund it so the burden doesn't fall on one town. That was a possibility, and it's also much more easy to do crowd control because it's fenced in. So we are already talking about how can we do it differently and better next year so that the police can, won't have that burden, but we can also still have something. But we had no official communication whatsoever. And I do have a question. Mayor Banks Did you receive communication about the fireworks being canceled and the letter from the police informing that it was probably not a good idea? Did you get communication?
I'll address everything.
Oh, okay, all right, sorry. Yeah, because I think the timeline was really important because our last meeting was May 20th, and we, as Amber had said, we're discussing budget issues, you know, police overtime and all that stuff, and we were trying to find ways where we could, you know, adjust the budget so that we could have what we want to have, but also, you know, maybe cut, you know, 1,000 here, 2,000 here, and still have events. And we did not know that letter exists, that communication happened, and I feel absolutely insulted as an elected official that I looked like an idiot up here a month ago discussing this, not having any idea. And I am not upset with Chief Spencer at all. What he did his job. He made the communication, and then the rest of that communication is supposed to happen from the township manager to us. The chief of police answers township manager to the council. Excuse me.
The letter was not addressed to them. It was addressed to township officials. The email was not addressed to them.
Okay, well, my understanding is, I never received it.
Okay. Well,
And I never received the communication.
It says township officials. They came from the PBA. I don't know who they said.
Did you receive an email about the police's
I
concern?
received the email.
Duly noted.
Represented everybody else. I was planning the funeral of my father, which you said, take care of this. But now it's different.
But we had the meeting
Let's play
on,
politics here.
I'm gonna finish and I understand. I totally understand. The date of that was bad timing when the letter was sent. We had our meeting May 20th. Up to and including that day, we could have been given that information, but we didn't have it. How can we do our jobs as elected officials if we don't have really crucial information, especially when it comes to budgeting? And it's small, it's the fireworks, and everyone's sad. But it's the point, and if we weren't given that information, I don't know if the deputy mayor received those emails, but if I was not given that information, what else haven't I been given? And sometimes I feel like we're constantly pushing so hard, but we don't always have all the information. And at that budget meeting, what we propose and how we discuss those particular issues, special events and police overtime, probably would have had a very different discussion if we had known that the intention was to not have it. And then we could have also taken that money and reallocated it to other places. So yeah, I'm really not happy that happened. And I'm sorry that the fireworks were canceled, but once again, the police had their justifications for not wanting to do it, but we could have had time to coordinate with other nonprofits, event organizers, and organize something else. But we found out that June 16th on Facebook. How can we possibly organize something now? So that's also the thing. We could have done something. So I'm gonna get off that soapbox. And most importantly, and this is something that I took very seriously, and I've had some very heartfelt conversations from my mom, because she's retired. We've never been wealthy. This tax increase is gonna hurt everybody, and everyone's getting squeezed everywhere. And I called the DCA, and I had a conversation with someone who was very helpful, and I know the consequences. I was told, yeah, you could be fined $100 a day if you don't pass this budget. And I'm willing to take it, because knowing that there's more that we could adjust to, we can't get it to zero. We have to fire people, and I don't want to do that. But there was no way I was going to walk out of here without fighting to at least adjust it a little bit more. We could have, I actually thought maybe we could go a little more, but I don't want to be so aggressive that we end up not being able to fund some things. But I'm willing to be fined $100 a day. No, I can't afford that. But I need to be the kind of person that I would want to, I want to be the kind of person that I would want to vote for. And if I'm just going to be like, oh, well, I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm just going to take it and do what I'm told, I can't. And so if we get fined, hopefully we won't, and hopefully this can be resolved, but, I wasn't gonna go down without a fight. And I know the consequences, and, I'm sorry if things get really complicated, and I know Kim and I both talk, like, we're willing, at any time we need to have a meeting to do all the other things we need to do, and get the new amended budget going, then I will cancel whatever I have for work, and I will be here. And I think that's probably it. I could go on so long, but thank you all for coming, because I know in the middle of the day, a lot of people are busy. Clearly you care. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hess. Deputy Mayor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just have a bunch of notes here, so let me go over a couple things. Ms. Tice, if you're still here.
You are.
Or she's not? No. I was just gonna say, and again, thank you for your continued patience. A lot of this is out of our control with regulated permits and timing to wait. So again, appreciate that. Dave, I wanted to address some of your questions, and then you could come up here and you're talking a little bit about the UEZ and how that interacts with the township. But I wanted to let you know that the admin budget that is allocated from the state, it has no bearing on the township finances. So every year we get an allotment from the state of UEZ dollars, and they tell us what we're gonna get, and then out of that, the UEZ board has to determine what that budget is made of. And right now, it pays for an administrator and also for a secretary of the UEZ. And of that, there used to be the billboards inside of that budget, but the state said that billboards and advertising for the UEZ can no longer be inside the admin budget. Just things like, office supplies and things of that nature, administrative stuff. Anything else, now that they have their projects, has to be contained and wrapped inside of a project. Like I kind of explained a little bit with the marketing project. I just wanted to clarify that just in case there was any misunderstanding that dollars from any part of the budget that we were talking about negotiating has anything to do with the UEZ. It's a completely separate income source from the state and a separate budget managed by that sub-entity. Even though it comes before here for approval, it's all managed at the UEZ side. I want to say thank you to Sarah. She's still here?
She left.
She left. That just takes a lot to come from being a resident and express your feedback and all of the personal details that she provided this evening. It's not an easy thing to go through and explain. And on the 250th event, I agree. It was a good event. Downtown was nice. Wish it was a little more crowded, but I think that they did a good job everywhere. On to the fireworks. Everyone is upset. I was celebrating for a very long time, so I'm at most upset. I think at the last meeting, there was a bit of discussion on different suggestions on how to perhaps in the following years raise some more money for the fireworks, and I agree that you guys had good suggestions, and we'll work that into following planning. And if I was a little bit reactive last meeting, I apologize. It definitely is personal for me because I have been planning it and doing it for a long time. So I am very upset that it's not happening this year. It means a lot to me and my family and to everyone in this town, as it was a tradition that I wanted to start or bring back to this town. And it's upsetting. I'm not going to get more into it because I'm going to get upset. Outside of that, I'd like to know a little bit about what the next steps are if DCA does come back very quickly. Do we have a statutory wait period after the amendment, or can we quickly come back in the session if, let's say, for the God's graces comes back and by the beginning of next week after the holiday, let's say, go forward with the minimum change? Or do we have to wait the full time period that we had to do the first time? Is that, does anybody know? Tom, maybe you?
I don't know so much that DCA call.
Okay, so they can, if they want, waive the time periods and go forward, approve it, move forward? Okay, I guess we're just gonna wait and see what happens. That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for our council members for their message. Thank you, everyone, for attending meeting today. Out of, different time. Appreciate your comments in regards to everything. Thank you for coming out too as well. And unfortunately, like I said, for this weekend, we cannot do the fireworks. I know it's been ad nauseum in terms of communication in regards to that, but safety is paramount into this town, and we definitely have to take the chief's advice on matters of this nature. I know the event has been great. I know the gentleman to my right has brought it back. And when I first moved here, we didn't have fireworks. So appreciate everything that you've done over the years to bring it back. Unfortunately, like I think I said, it's just we kind of outgrowing our capacity. And I think with the meeting, I think you guys attended the other day at the gentleman's house. You guys had some good ideas or good suggestions, and we have to explore that at some point to look into it. Come for the next new iteration of what's happening after this year. I thank everyone for their comments. Like I said, I'm going to repeat myself, but I think we are done. We'll see you. Everything is TBD at this point. It's unprecedented, so we'll let you know when the next meeting will occur. And thank you guys. And meeting is adjourned.
Did you receive an email?
Motion to adjourn.
You promised to.